Showing off, don't wanna have to wait tonight. Wait tonight. Better off, I'm gonna find my way tonight. Wait tonight. Won't you talk to me? I wanna heal your sorrow. Won't you talk to me? We'll make a new tomorrow. Won't you talk to me? We'll make this happen. there's no one else who loves me like you used to. Some days I'm not myself, there's no one I can turn to. And I know all the feelings that we shared are in the past. And I know your relationships are never meant to last. It might take some time, but I'll be alright. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. Moving on, moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. Some days there's no one else who loves me like you used to. Some days I'm not myself, there's no one I can turn to. And I know all the feelings that we shared are in the past. And I know your relationships are never meant to last. It might take some time, but I'll be alright. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. I'm moving on, I'm moving on. Talking to myself and I can't focus. Yeah, I'm broken. The door is closing. Wanna be a part of something more than this. I've lost control of it. Oh, seeing the stars reminds me of you. Oh, oh, oh. You left me with scars, but I know that one day you'll see it through. You see it through. You see it through. Yeah. You see it through. You see it through. We gonna live forever, forever. The afterlife. We gonna live forever, forever. The talking to myself and I can't focus. Yeah, I'm broken. The door is closing. Wanna be a part of something more than and sure of it. Oh, seeing the stars reminds me of you. Oh, oh, oh. You left me with scars, but I know that one day you'll see it through. You see it through. You see it through. Eh. You see it through. You see it through. We gonna live forever, forever. The afterlife. We gonna live forever, forever. The
A pair of jeans, a shirt or two. We didn't pack as if we weren't going back. It doesn't matter if it's true. I've got a feeling love will give us what we lack. The world is waiting up. The world is waiting half a step beyond our door. Yeah. And if it's not enough, I wanna see the stuff the world has got in store. I wanna take it all in, I'm falling. The cityscape by night, wanna catch in my photos. Where you go, every corner twice as bright. They'll be my treasures forever. When I can't hold you tight, I'll see the Stockholm lights. The Stockholm lights, the Stockholm lights. Tomorrow feels a year away, like the seconds, the beginning and the end. But if in time it's yesterday, your picture's gonna bring it home to me again. The world is waiting up. The world is waiting half a step beyond our door. And if it's not enough, I wanna see the stuff the world has got in store. I wanna take it all in, I'm falling. The cityscape by night, wanna catch in my photos. Where you go, every corner twice as bright. They'll be my treasures forever. When I can't hold you tight, I'll see the Stockholm lights. The Stockholm lights, the Stockholm lights.
eyes on my display. You say we need a change, and I feel that you mean it. You mean it. But you're so right, we're losing track of time, buying things online, and it's not like we need them. We don't need them. So can we just slow down? The only thing I'll do is lay here next to you. We need to slow down. Embrace the love we found. For you and I were safe and sound. And we just slow down. For you and I were safe and sound. We were on the run, rocking around the clock. Now all we need is right here in front of us. In front of us. So can we just slow down? The only thing I'll do.
Well, Gragas is technically going to be a what's that going to be, like a four-way split pick? Like it could flex mid, jungle, top, or even in the 80 carry as a farming Gragas alongside the Senna there.
Yeah, I like this pick for closing ties. The flexibility in draft is always something that's good to see. And for Conduit Esports, they're actually going to take away a little bit of flexibility for themselves. That brand most likely is going to be heading towards the jungle and that Maokai into the supportive role, as they also grab that Varus for themselves. Varus Senna seems to be the usual trade back and forth if Smolder is not up between bottom lanes. And closing ties are actually going to take away one of those flexibility options. Something had to go. They're going to pair Senna up with the Braum and into the face of Varus Maokai. I'm not 100% sure if I like this.
Yeah, the Braum is going to be good to negate the poke there from the Varus. I'm not sure how Braum Shield interacts with that ult from the brand, so I'll have to check and see if is the Braum Shield able to block the Braum ult from bouncing.
I believe if it's the first thing that the Braum ulti is getting hit by, it will destroy the projectile. but I'm trying to remember if it's the first thing or if it's anything. I'd have to double check that when we're between games. But maybe we'll see it happen between these two champions here, as the second round of bans is going to go through Lux and Camille, taken away by Conduit Esports. Lux is not a champion that we've been seeing very much, so I'm actually a little surprised to see that one hit the ban bench, but Eclipsing Tides going to continue to focus down that mid pool with the LeBlanc and the Karma takeaways.
I'm trying to do some check right here, and I look it up on the internet, and the first video I see is Braum counter to Brand ult, so that it must be able to block it. But yeah, we see the Veigar going to be picked up there, so that's even more of this like AoE CC, even more scaling for the side of New Moon here, and we'll have to see, because there's really not a lot of lane prio for them so far, and depending upon what they lock in for the jungle, if it's going to be the Gragas jungle or something else in the jungle, they need something to play around, as Conduit double down even more with early game power and pick up my favorite champion in the Jace.
Yeah, Jace has a strong solo laner here, alongside the Akali as well. This is a very aggressive draft from Conduit Esports. The CC really only coming from that Maokai and a little bit from the Brand as well, if he decides to pick up the Riot Lights for teamfight presence. For Eclipsing Tides, as they're going to lock in that Xin Zhao, locking that Gragas away to top side, I do worry a little bit about the Mercury Treads value that Conduit Esports has over the course of this game, because you have Braum Slow, Braum Stun, Gragas, his whole kit. Truly, Veigar, Cage, Senna, Root. It's a lot of tenacity, or a lot of crowd control that you want to be able to have tenacity for and want to be able to knock down. And with a lot of magic damage behind it, it's really easy to just say, like, you know, Mercury Treads are pretty good this game. We're just going to pick those up.
Yeah, Mercury Treads are definitely going to be something that you want when you're playing against the likes of a Veigar. You know, you've got the Gragas that's going to have a lot of CC, the Senna, and the Braum. There's so much CC stacking on there, and a lot of it is that AP damage. Although, you know, now that they have gone a bit more with that Xin Zhao and the Senna, it's a little bit less priority, especially with that last pick Xin Zhao. But definitely, Merc Treads are going to be must buys basically across the board there for Conduit.
Yeah, but for now that we're looking at the total drafts for both of these teams, I do have to say, I like the aggression that Conduit Esports is coming out swinging with in Game 1. Eclipsing Tides, if they can make it past like 25-30 minute mark, and they have the Senna Souls, the Veigar stacks, and they're feeling pretty confident to actually take fights, they have a good chance of winning this game. But it's a matter of getting to that point, and Maokai early game, Jace early game, Brand early game are going to make those all very, very difficult to reach.
Yeah, I mean, the Jace and the Akali a little bit less so, but once she hits that level 6, so much kill pressure onto the scaling Veigar if she can use her mobility to correctly dodge and evade that Veigar cage, and especially the Jace there, that range advantage he's going to have over Gragas can definitely be a carry and win condition for this game, and Xin Zhao needs to make sure that the Jace does not get too far ahead. The problem is you've got a Brand running on the jungle that's going to have a lot of damage if he can land all those set of 3 spells and land that spell rotation. So a lot of skill required for Conduit, a lot of execution-based team compositions here. Eclipsing Tide, New Moon, a bit more of a scaling, but a little bit more easy of a team fight as they get later on in the stage of the game. So 2 completely different strategies, and we'll have to see how they clash.
Yeah, interesting to see how they will actually clash, like you said, when we get onto the Rift. I do want to give a quick shout out for our sponsor tonight for the Titan Esports Divinity League. It's Pro Comps, you know, you love them. They're our sponsor tonight, and a game changer after the League of Legends community. It's not just like any other tools, it's your personal draft coach, perfect for both teams and solo players. And in fact, you can even pair with any other app you use in any sort of program like Overwolf. Pro Comp stands out with features like custom champion pools, personalized tier lists, and live draft advice. You can think of it like having a virtual coach and strategy toolkit all wrapped up into one. They offer real-time champ and ban recommendations. I haven't personally used it myself, but I've been hearing a lot of good things about it from a lot of my friends who do use it. There are already over 200,000 downloads and thousands of daily users who are just like you. ProComps is user-friendly and is 100% free. It's a no-brainer to at least give it a go. You can download it now and you'll experience a whole new level of drafting power in your league games. You can go to procomps.gg, I always throw an extra G on there, and download it from Overwolf, or you can click on the panel located below our stream.
Sounds good. Yeah, go ahead, check it out, and we're going to be transitioning now here into game 1 between Conduit and Eclipsing Tides. Just starting this game off, how exciting is this?
Yeah, we are already seeing level 1 5-man stands across the board. No tricksy invades, no super hyper aggression from either side, although we do see Dibs, DXB's walking over, gets a little poke onto Very Talented. No first strike for this Jace, though. It is Phase Rush, so no extra money coming out of that trade into level 1.
Yeah, a little bit of, mana spent out, a little bit of damage there onto the Vagar, but so far, really just 5-point all the way across the board as kind of peeking around to see if there's anything too funky. Senna went with, what is that rune called?
Fleet Footwork, I believe?
Fleet Footwork, yes. Went with the Fleet Footwork, which is a little bit less common. I've seen a lot of things, though, work well for her. Gragas, no surprise with the Grasp. Jace did go the Phase Rush build, which is correct into this matchup. And
you
Varus
have quite a lot of experience on Jace, so I'm actually very curious about this. A lot of times I see Jaces take things like Summon Area or like First Strike into these melee matchups. Why is it in this matchup in particular that Phase Rush is so important?
Because Gragas is a fake melee character. He has so much range with that dash and the barrel that, and the barrel size is so large. And as Jace, you're basically immobile. Your only mobility is being able to jump in, right? So you really can't be dodging those barrels out super well. So your first strike, if the Gragas is any good, is basically useless the entire laning phase.
But you can't
Phase Rush into this. Phase Rush in this matchup is very good because it allows you to take those short trades, especially if Gragas wants to. It's really good as a counter initiation. You can get the Prio to sit back in the wave, and you can see how he's just using that range to abuse it. And he's telling the Gragas, you need to step up and fight me. But the Jace has Phase Rush, which means if Gragas ever tries to dash in, then the Jace is just going to be able to have, do that spell rotation and then have more movement speed to stay at range and keep poking out and win trades in the long term.
Okay, I see. We'll have to see how good DXB's is actually at using that particular rune, because it seems like a pretty high skill matchup. As we're looking at the junglers across the board here, we're seeing Notorious TLP start pretty slowly on his top side, just go for that full clear off of the Raptors start, whereas Glada, onto this brand, already done with his bottom side, done with the Wolves, and moving up towards his top side camp. So this is a fast jungle clearing. That's kind of what Brand is known for. In the most recent patch, he got a slight buff to his passive damage to monsters, even with a slight nerf to his ultimate cooldown. It should still mean overall that Brand has one of the fastest and safest clears in the game.
Yeah, Brand clear still very fast, has about a 2-camp lead there over the Xin Zhao already. And just moving his way quickly through the jungle, moving up towards top side. But Xin Zhao is, they split the map here. So Prio going over to the Jace and Xin Zhao trying to get Prio over to the Senna and the Braum. They're hiding on a board there, but they are seen by vision. So this could be a gank right here.
Not so dark, rooted up. The counter root from Ipsy, he's going in. But now with no ghost on the Bear, it's going to be forced to burn that flash as well. And then TLP get the knockup, he can. Not so dark, one auto away. They're going to donate that one over to Wheeze. First blood for the Senna. It's a huge win for the Eclipsing Tides bottom side.
Yeah, a huge play indeed, as we're seeing Akali take some nice trades there mid lane as well. Has a bit of a CS lead for herself, but that's a big win for the Senna lane, because the Varus did go with that Hail of Blades build, and which is really a ton of early game prio. You really want to be snowballing early. Senna is a champion that needs to scale and takes time to get into it, whereas Varus can really jump into it pretty early. So getting that kill over is going to completely neutralize any chance you had of just being able to get some free kills and have a good time there for the Varus. So yeah, we'll have to see how they play around this, because that's a very unexpected and atypical lead to go over to a Senna here this early on in the game.
Yeah, and especially because this is a farming Senna, not a fasting Senna. That extra gold in her inventory means she gets to those item power spikes faster, which should mean a pretty big deal for her soul collection as well over time. As Wheeze does have that serrated Durkin inventory, so I'm assuming this is going to be a lethality Senna, not a crit Senna, which I think, given the squishy kind of enemy team that she's facing against, I actually pretty much fully agree with it. I like the call here.
Yeah, well, let's see. Just keeping an eye on what some of the stuff that this is going on here top side. Jace does have a nice lead for himself so far, but
Fallen Warrior has rotated up here. Both of these teams look like they might want to contest for the early grubs. We were talking a little bit before the broadcast about what you wanted both of these drafts to do. And you said that you really wanted this Xin Zhao team to be playing for this topside grubs, play around the Jace Gragas lane, get that Jace behind, play for this topside objective, and it looks like they're going to be doing just that.
Yep, playing towards the top side. Blue side, their Conduit, they take a reset, so the grubs are going to be free to go over them. A bit of a tempo mistake there from the Brand, which is surprising because Brand typically has the lead in tempo. So you want to be on the Dragon right now to counter that neutral objective. But yeah, props to the Xin Zhao getting that kill early on. First blood handed over to the Senna, and now picking up the neutral objective. And Brand is behind on tempo to respond to it. So they might be able to pick up this Dragon, but if Xin Zhao wants to, can head over and contest it.
Yeah, with the roam up from Fallen Warrior, it does mean that bottom lane Prior will go over to Not So Dark and Ipsy, which should mean that even with the late start, this Infernal Dragon should go over to Conduit Esports. We do see TLP up here on the top side.
Xin Zhao's here.
Might be in trouble. That phase rush already procs, but he does have the warp gate, so he should just be able to sprint his way on out of there. Happy to just say, hey, enemy jungler's top side, we'll take a free dragon for it.
Yep, you get a free dragon, but you also get to push in top side there, give Gragas a nice recall, which is going to be really good for him because Jace is now going to have to catch this whole wave, and then the wave's going to go back to neutral state. And so you can't really stick around if you're Jace. You did take it back, I guess, already, but you're going to spend a fair amount of mana to try to take it. And what's really interesting about this is Jace did not elect to take a tier here, which I'm really kind of disappointed about. If you're not getting a tier with your... and I don't know what you're trying to build with the Caulfield's Warhammer either.
It might
But
be an
we'll have to
early
see.
attempt as Fallen Warrior forced to flash away there. Glada just waiting in the wings, ready to pop that stun. But Braum, good reaction time, flashes away from the play, doesn't get caught.
Yeah, Brown forced to burn the flash, which is a nice little roam there for the Brand's going to give back a little bit of prio over to the Varus, who is up a fair amount of CS there, about 15, so that's about 2 waves, but Xin Zhao's back topside.
TLP back up here on the top side. DXB is forced to flash away, even with the phase rush proc. Now Ipsy trying to get an engage onto the bottom side, but I'm not sure it's going to work out. There is level 6 on Not So Dark, though, so suddenly Wheeze and Fallen Warrior taking a lot of damage here. The trade back is pretty good, though. No level 6 for that Maokai is a pretty big deal. In the meantime, top side as well. Dr. Shroud's forced to dash away. Doesn't get the XU down onto TLP. Glada in the bottom side. Oh, Ipsy flashing forward to get that Nature's Grasp, but he just goes too far. Fallen Warrior drags him under tower, and it's a great response. Eclipsing Tides takes another on the bottom side. Hang on.
Jace, what are you doing? You need to
Might
push
not
the wave
be
it so
on.
you can dive it. This could be really bad here, though.
Up here, Notorious TLP very low on the Xin Zhao. Doesn't have level 6 yet, as Glada gets a nice trade onto Fallen Warriors. The heal does come through, which should save the Braum. And it looks like that topside play doesn't end up going into anything, so both parties just walk away. And again, it's just that lead on the bottom side for Eclipsing Tides.
Yeah, Senna now has 2 kills, has 150 gold bounty on her head, and just straight up win the 2v2 against the Varus and the Maokai. Maokai only level 4, so compared to the Braum at the level 5, so has that extra, skill point and that extra health, resistances, etc. that come with that bonus level. And they take the trade and just win it. Varus also burned the Ghost, landed the ultimate right there onto the Senna's head, but it just wasn't enough. The Braum is too powerful in that Maokai-Varus matchup. And then once the Maokai tries to tunnel in, flashes right under tower and executes the Maokai. So well played over to Wheeze and Fallen Warrior.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised actually that Ipsy is behind in XP over Fallen Warrior, given that the Braum did rotate up for those early grubs, and that objective doesn't really give a ton of XP over to the people who don't get the last hit on it. So with Ipsy staying in lane and getting that extra lane experience, I'm trying to calculate in my head how Ipsy could be behind versus Fallen Warrior, but it must have just been that early trade, the early gank coming through, or maybe Glada coming down and taking away some XP. I'm not 100% certain.
I wonder if it has something to do with Brand, there we go, being around when some of those waves were crashing and just leeching some of that extra XP. That could be what it is, because they are even now. So I think it was probably only a difference of a couple minions before he had gotten there. But you never know. It could be just some weird timer, or he backed during a wave crash, or roamed mid lane and we didn't catch it. Who knows what it was, but...
Yeah, we do have a fight up here on the top side. TLP trying to get that 6 grub stack as Sir Top Gap gonna get a nice little bit of chunk damage down onto Glada. Nice response, though, from that Brand rotation.
Brand does have ult. There it goes.
1 HP. Gragas picks up 1. There's Dr. Shrouds into the thick of it. Such low health bars from the Eclipsing Tides members. Can he call to get the executes? There's 1. Sir Top Gap still surviving on a sliver of HP. Dr. Shrouds doesn't have that perfect execution again. Sir Top Gap will pick 1 up, and Glada gets the other one over the wall. TLP goes down with no smite. That should just mean the Conduit Esports should get to pick up the rest of these grubs. So Top Gap, though, doesn't want to give them up, and Glada getting fairly low. Shock Blast doesn't connect onto the Gragas, but in a 1 versus 2, I think he's going to be forced to just walk away.
Yeah, 1v2, gonna have to walk away. Glada has Smite, there it goes. So that's gonna secure 2 of those Voidlings, those Void Grubs over so that you don't get that bonus from having 5. And Dobbs landing a little bit of poke, but still, I don't know what he's building here.
Yeah, I think
Maybe it is the Eclipse.
With Caulfield's pickaxe, that is the Eclipse build path. I've been doing that a lot on Poppy recently. That's been my go-to flavor if I ever do get moved up to that top side. It's a lot more damage than people would expect, a lot of fun. But yeah, it should just be Eclipse here for Jace. But I kind of agree with you that I think, especially with given that Gragas tends himself to longer trades and to extended amounts of time in the laning phase, that tier would just be really good for DXBs.
Yeah, especially you want the tier so that you can start really scaling up and win out in those longer trades against a Gragas who has a lot of that just natural built-in tankiness with that regen and has also elected to go with the Rod of Ages, so it's going to be even more just tanky with that health. You want to be doing longer extended trades back and forth where you're chipping health bar and mana pools back and forth, and you just like you see Jace cycles a couple rounds of spells and is just straight up out of mana at this point. I'm assuming it did go for the mana flow ban is going to be my guess. Yeah, he did, and he's got it all stacked up, but that's just not enough. You need that extra 360 mana from the tier to really be able to stay alive in the lane as long as you want to be against a Gragas.
Yeah, the second dragon will go over to Eclipsing Tides, but there's those Chains of Corruption, not so dark, trying to get Davison on the Fallen Warrior. The cage is good. Dr. Shroud is just going to be stuck in here, but he's inside his Shroud. He's doing absolutely fine. Ipsy, with the Nature's Grasp, will pick up that kill. Glad still trying to chase him down, but TLP has that Crescent Guard on, so he will just be able to walk away. And it's a kill traded over for Dragon. I think for Eclipsing Tides, they're actually pretty happy with that trade overall.
Yeah, I think you take that. You stop the dragon stacking, kind of the early stacking from Conduit. You do hand over that kill, but you know, especially with this team, you'll take any advantage you can get to allow the Veigar to keep stacking. As I'm going to do a quick stack check here, is on about 79 stacks, so closing in closer and closer to that 100 point where you start to really do some serious damage. But Xin Zhao's roaming up top. We're going to see a Dobbs in trouble. Yep, there's the Q.
Immediate
Nice
flash away, but there's the Gragas barrel, perfectly placed. Dobbs forced underneath these 2 enemy members. Health bar is not going to keep him around for that much longer, so Top Gap just picks that one up. His second kill of the game now. And we were saying in the draft that the Conduit Esports comp should be getting ahead in the early game and should be playing aggressively, but looking at this gold graph as we're at the 13-minute mark, the fact that Eclipsing Tides has those even dragons, has a lead in the grubs, this is a really big deal for the scaling composition.
It really is. It's boding well for them, especially because the Senna is so far ahead, and the Veigar realistically is only down about 20 CS. So we might see something here. Nope, we're not. Yeah, the fact that they're only down about 300 gold is really nice for them. They're especially because the Jace lane just has not gone very well. Sure, it was a blind pick, or technically a blind pick because the Gragas could have been flexed anywhere, but Jace is going to struggle a little bit this game. It's not going to have that really high damage Jace build that we see a lot of times when you see Jace in pro play, for example. Plus, you know, Jace averaging only around, what is that, about 8 CS a minute, maybe 7 CS a minute. That's you're about 30 CS down from where you want to be if you're playing a Jace. So not going to be the highest damage Jace early on, but we'll have to see how it scales into the mid game and how Dobbs can pilot it. Because Jace is very much execution based.
Yeah, still has a healthy 10-12 CS lead over his lane opponent, even with the 2 kills going over, so it should help even up some of that gold deficit that he's feeling up there in the top side. But I think the real story of this game right now is the bottom side. Weeds still sitting on those 2 kills, has that completed Youmu's in inventory, so feeling very safe on this Senna. And it's so difficult for Ipsy and Not So Dark to actually get the engage down on the Senna Braum. That's the safety of this lane that is so good, and the reason why they picked it into this Varus Mount guy.
We're going to see a fight here. 3v3. Here we go.
Talented, getting pretty low. Stun comes through onto TLP. He's going to use that Crescent Guard to just negate a lot of that brand damage. The passive popping into that shield. Talents to force a flash over the wall, though. And with every member of Eclipsing Tides disengaging, this should just be Conduit Esports. Rift Herald. TLP's still sticking around, but he's fully on vision, so they know exactly where he's going to be. Dr. Shroud's ready to jump over the wall with that perfect execution if he sticks around for too long. But with both of them disengaging, it is just the Rift Herald going over to Conduit Esports.
Yep, Rift Herald going to go over. The Maokai did roam up to secure, so that's going to leave Not So Dark isolated down here, and Eclipsing Tide does know this, so if Braum wants to, can just jump up to the minion and ult.
Yeah, Not So Dark maybe stepping a little bit too far forward. Has popped that Ghost, though, going to dash away from that Winter's Bite. And Leeds doesn't have a ton of mana, so I think they're just going to be happy to take that Ghost in this trade. They do tag him with the Winter's Bite there, but I don't think they want to go for anything too more aggressive now without Senna having Flash or having a lot of mana.
Yep, Senna needs to, I'm just going to check here. Yeah, Senna's sitting on about 1,500 gold, so it wants to reset right there. And despite how the lane has gone here bot side for the Varus, once Varus catches this wave, the gold deficit is really only going to be about, I'm guessing, about 300. So it's surprisingly not terrible for Not So Dark. He's missing a couple of minions there, but...
I mean, still, again, healthy CS lead about 20 over the Senna, and that's kind of what you expect out of the aggressive bottom lane. Varus Maokai has a lot of early pressure. They had Glada coming down early for a little bit of priority as well. So getting a lead over the Senna is not unexpected, but I think the big deal is the Senna does have a decent amount of farm for at this point in the game, and has a good amount of stacks as well, which really does make up for some of the gold value that is lost in the farming versus fasting Senna, and especially in a lane like this, it is so important for her to have a reasonable amount of CS. I'm not going to say that she's farming perfectly or, you know, would be better than if it was fasting or famine, as Fallen Warrior actually in trouble here. They're going to use that Dawning Shadow to just make sure the Braum gets out safely. Very aggressive.
This is a bad TP from Jace.
Nice cage, though, will deny a lot of the engage, so no aggressive plays just yet. You see Dr. Shroud's on top of the fight.
Maokai ult.
Fallen Warrior getting very, very low. Gonna burn down. The Chains of Corruption are gonna pick him up. Not So Dark now finds his first heal. Now in the middle of it. Dr. Shroud's just gonna delete him. Yakali Execution comes through. Gets some damage down to the very talented as well. Right into the cage, though. They should be able to pick him up. It's just a massive wipe from Conduit Esports. Sir Top got forced to run away. Can he get away from the Yakali under tower? She has that Leandry, so she's trying to chase him down. The E does not land. No Shuriken flip for her, but it is a massive team fight win for Conduit Esports, and it'll net them the Dragon as well.
That's what happens when you use your Veigar cage a little bit too early. The cage went down there in the bottom between Pixel and Tribush, and Gragas had an opportunity to ult two people right into it. That was your pick opportunity right there to win the fight and get the dragon, but Gragas doesn't pull the trigger. Jace is able to get out. Brand is able to use that ult freely and pick the Braum down to about 200 health. Varus comes around the corner, ults Braum right to the face, having already used that shield, and just executes him. And now you have no front line. You have 4 champions. The Gragas only has 8 stacks in that Rod of Ages, so only has a few hundred health bonus on that and no resistances. Xin Zhao isn't the tank either. Veigar doesn't have the CC, and Senna is just a squishy champion with no mobility either. So the fight's just over at that point once your Braum is out of the picture, and Conduit Esports capitalized brilliantly on that.
Shuriken flip lands onto Sir Top Cap. Akali has so much damage. Your perfect execution round 2. Dr. Shroud comes through, picks that one up, forced the flash out of TLP as well. I think he's just wanted to get over here to this Rift Herald to smite it away and make sure that it doesn't charge into the tower. But this potential dive here, if he can't fully clear this wave out, he did go for the Sunder Sky instead of the Titanic Hydra first, so no extra wave clear for the Xin Zhao, but he does have that Crescent Guard. He's keeping himself safe. The Brand ult just knocks into it, but there's a basket from the Dark Harvest! Glada with a fadeaway picks up the enemy jungler.
Yeah, that was a really nice ultimate. As it turns out, you had 2 stacks on Xin Zhao already. Only need one of them, and because of how the passive works, it prioritizes champions that are already ablaze. Xin Zhao has the 2 stacks, so the ult just keeps bouncing back and forth, waiting for that third one. The Crescent Guard is disabled, and that final stack of Pyroclasm comes bouncing through, gets the final stack of Blaze, and blows him up. Even though he did get that Rift Herald gone out of the picture, trades his life for it.
Warrior and FC just notice each other on their sweepers. A little bit of support recognition there, just trying to fight over vision. You can see Baron is spawning up in just a couple of seconds here. You can see it sneaking in under the river. I love that new animation. That's got to be one of my favorite parts of this new season. I love what they've done with that.
Yeah, I really like some of the little touches they've added to make the game look a little bit prettier. I'm always down for that.
Shuriken flip bottom lane. Dr. Shrouds has the perfect execution, but didn't think he could go for the full one-shot there just yet. So Top Cap, like you said, with that Rod of Ages, now fully stacked in his inventory, so a lot tankier on the Gragas, and going towards what I believe is the Cosmic Drive. Next item for a lot of extra CDR, just trying to be a little bit more aggressive in fights and try and have a bit more utility on this pick.
Let's see. Sorry, there is a weird commotion going on outside my door. Outside my window,
I'm curious
rather.
if we can get a stack check on Senna and on Vigar, because we checked in with Senna a little while ago as Dobbs is just going to run away from that play on the top side. But for Vigar, sitting on 140 extra AP from his passive, at 20 minutes into the game, that's not half bad, as Glad maybe has found Sir Top Gap here. A nice sidestep on the stun, but now with no E, no flash, the guy should just say goodbye. Dr. Shrouds with the perfect execution picks up that second hit. Now, AFC the one in trouble, actually. Going to get engaged on by Fallen Warrior and TLP. There's that Glacial Fissure for the knockup. Not so dark. Not able to get anything extra in here. The Dawning Shadow comes through, but it's survives HP! Manages to live the Senna ulti. And even with the losses of ultis, and he'll manage to walk away from it. Dobbs a little bit misplaced on the acceleration gate there, doesn't get the shock blast through. Oh, I don't
Careful,
know.
Dobbs.
This one has to flash away from that cage. No tier 2 boots just yet available for him. Now Glada has rotated up. Suddenly the Brandle, that Pyroclasm bouncing around. The passive stack's coming through. Wee's going to lose a ton of HP. The Piercing Light will heal her up just a little bit more, but whew, lots of damage coming through from Brand.
Yeah, the brand is really online right now, has that Liandry's Torment done, has the Sork Shoes done. The more pen you can get on this champion, the more that passive's going to do. And the Liandry's plus Sork Shoes is a great early combo. I'm curious what he's going to build next. But whatever the case, Brand is in a great spot in this game so far. And the Akali, especially now, interestingly went for the Unending Despair second.
I was about to say, that's the tank item, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not 100% certain about this particular pick, but might look for Wheeze here. Has that perfect execution in, gets a little bit of extra damage, but under tower, I'm not sure is the spot he wants to be. Teleport Ida from Very Talented. They might actually look to punish the Akali here. Sure, can flip to get away for a little bit longer. Sir Top Gap does have that ulti to try and knock the Akali back, but she has enough mobility. She's actually just going to get out there. That's a lot of resources burned to this bottom side to not find anything.
Yeah, I don't know what the idea behind the Unending Despair is. That's a good item for someone who's very tanky. It's going to be sitting in the middle of the fight, but there's just better tank items than that for armor. And I guess it does heal a little bit, but she's only procced it twice.
Glad gets a little bit of damage down to Fallen Warrior, forces that Glacial Fissure out, doesn't find a knock-up on anybody.
Watch
Also
Akali.
has that Ghost on. Dr. Shroud's in the back line, looking for some damage on a Very Talented. He's trying to get the damage down. The exhaust comes through, keeps her down for a little bit longer. No perfect execution available. She used it earlier on in the trade against Wheeze, so no escape for Dr. Shroud, but he's so tanky. With the Unending Despair, he actually manages to stay alive. Dobbs finds a shot over the top, and it's just all the cleanup from Conduit Esports. The recall comes through from Sir Top Gas, and he's going to try and run away from this play. What looks like a decent fight start for Eclipsing Tides just turned on its head so fast.
Yeah, that was a great, like, the flank there from the Akali was so good. And like you said, being able to stay in the fight as long as she did. And I'm looking at it, the passive on it, how it gives you that little bit of a heal, right? She went from 160 healing done to 621 in that fight. So she has a ton of fake tanking, and I think maybe the idea is she goes in, because the passive for that item, it says every 7 seconds while in combat, you deal 82 damage to nearby enemies and heal for 250% of the damage dealt. Maybe her idea is to ult in, and then go into that shadow and just hover around there, throwing down the threat and wait for that anguish passive of the Unending Despair item to tick through. You get a bunch of bonus health, you deal a little burst of damage to everyone around you, then you ult back out. And it worked out really well there for Dr. Shrouds, and I think I actually see the vision here behind this item.
Yeah, I can see.
Kali's building another tank item.
Yeah, that's an Abyssal Mask coming next for her. I can kind of see the logic behind it. Sort of how in Pro Play Tank Azir has been getting a lot of play and viability recently, because in Pro Play Azir really is just kind of a shuffle bot, so being able to survive to get that ulti off and survive to get a couple of extra hits afterwards really can provide a lot of value for him. I guess for Dr. Shrouds, if he doesn't have his perfect execution to one-shot somebody, since he has his one damage item, he wants to still be able to provide value for his team, as TLP is down here, going to try and punish the Akali. She's going to dash back in. Sir Top Cap actually very, very low. Akali has the perfect execution. Gragas, I think you're just too low, a little too late. Dr. Shroud staying alive. Perfect execution over the top. The Dawning Shadow to keep TLP alive for just a little bit longer, but it's the 1v2 for Dr. Shrouds.
Yep, healed another 300 in that fight right there. That's just so much sustainability for the Akali. So tanky as well. That armor built with that item plus the Negatron.
Rest in peace, Fallen Warrior. He tries to keep Weeze alive, does his best, but Brand does have the Rhyelize, so once he presses R, there really is no escaping from that particular ability. Yeah, 2-0-11 for Glada on this Brand. He's been performing excellently over the course of this game.
Mm-hmm. And I want to, as we're going to see another potential catch here.
Surely he's not dead here, right? The Rhyelize is going to keep him slowed, though, and Gladys just going to flash forward aggressively into him. Weeze under tower, not so dark, and picks him up from half HP. TLP will get a response kill back on top of Glada. But it's just Conduit Esports coming alive in this mid-game before Eclipsing Tides can really be online with their scaling. Conduit Esports have just taken full control of this map.
They really have, and we might see Sir Top Gap here get killed, as he's gonna have to use that explosive cast to keep himself safe. We saw how bad that early couple levels went for as Dr. Shroud is going in again.
Wants to go aggressive, has that execute onto the perfect execution. Lots of damage coming down. It's just a deletion of the members of Eclipsing Tides. And I'm not 100% certain when, but at some point Conduit Esports got Baron and are now just looking to end the game.
Yeah, they picked up Baron in the back, I think, while we were messing around with that Akali solo double kill there. And yeah, we saw how bad that early game went for them. And now look, they were down 2 or 3 kills, and they've only given up 2 or 3 kills since. That's going to be one more right there, but that's just it doesn't matter because the game's going to be over right here, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep, that's another kill for Not So
goes
Dark.
down, trying to defend his Nexus. The waves will do the work that the members do not have to. Conduit Esports pick up the mid-game win and take game 1.
Yeah, that's a really nice, step back from how bad that first couple levels went for Conduit. They turned the game right around, got things going again with the Jace, who was fine, but particularly the Akali and the Brand, just playing the map so well, playing the fight so well, especially around those dragons. A few misexecutions on your cask into Veigar Cage combo. They take advantage of that. The Braum ult. The Brand ult, rather, completely tearing fights apart. Akali sitting in your backline, putting on great flank angles, and they slowly, piece by piece, rip the game out of the hands of Eclipsing Tides and get a game 1 victory for themselves.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried when the early game was going so well for Eclipsing Tides. They had those kills on the Senna. They were playing through their bottom lane really well, and everything looked good for them. But then all of a sudden, Dr. Shrouds is just 1v2ing on Akali in the side lane. They're picking up Barons. They're just taking every team fight because there's no way that they have to deal with this Akali. Despite all the crowd control they have, when she steps into that Shroud, you can't really target her with any of that crowd control.
No, you really can't. Yeah, like you said, you could put the cage down, but Akali is just invisible inside of it and can run all over the place. So, the Akali played this game so well, and I really like the way that Dr. Shroud's itemized. Realizing I have the Leandries, I can keep proccing that over and over and over again with these Qs, and I need to keep myself alive in these fights and just keep doing it again and again. And the Jace, this Varus, this Brand, and then the Maokai, keeping them all safe will be able to outtrade them. I'm here to be the distraction in the backline, and it worked out brilliantly for them.
Yeah, and some impressive cooking from Dr. Shrouds in game 1. I'm interested to see if he'll get his hands on that Akali in game 2. And speaking of game 2, we're going to take a short break while we wait for the draft to start up of that game 2 between Conduit, Esports, Griffin, and Eclipsing Tides New Moon. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
There's no one else who loves me like you used to. Some days I'm not myself. There's no one I can turn to. And I know all the feelings that we shared are in the past. And I know you're trust me like you used to. Some days I'm not myself. There's no one I can turn to. And I know all the feelings that we shared are in the past. And I know your relationships are never meant to last. It might take some time, but I'll be alright. I'm moving on. I'm moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. I'm moving on. I'm moving on. I know times are tough, but I've had enough. I'm moving on. I'm moving on. I'm moving on. Talking to myself and I can't focus. Yeah, I'm broken. The door is closing. Wanna be a part of something more than this. I've lost control of it. Oh, seeing the stars reminds me of you. Oh, oh, oh. You left me with scars, but I know that one day you'll see it through. You see it through. You see it through. Eh. You see it through. You see it through. We gonna live forever, forever. The afterlife. We gonna live forever, forever. The Talking to myself and I can't focus. Yeah, I'm broken. The door is closing. Wanna be a part of something more than this. I've lost control of it. Oh, seeing the stars reminds me of you. Oh, oh, oh. You left me with scars, but I know that one day you'll see it through. You see it through. You see it through. Eh. You see it through. You see it through. We gonna live forever, forever. The afterlife. We gonna live forever, forever. The afterlife.
A pair of jeans, a shirt or two. We didn't pack as if we weren't going back. It doesn't matter if it's true. I've got a feeling love will give us what we lack. The world is waiting up. The world is waiting half a step beyond our door. Yeah. And if it's not enough, I wanna see the stuff the world has got in store. I wanna take it all in, I'm falling. The cityscape by night, wanna catch in my photos. Where you go, every corner twice as bright. They'll be my treasures forever. When I can't hold you tight, I'll see the Stockholm lights. The Stockholm lights, the Stockholm lights. Tomorrow feels a year away, like the seconds, the beginning and the end. But if in time it's yesterday, your picture's gonna bring it home to me again. The world is waiting up. The world is waiting half a step beyond our door. And if it's not enough, I wanna see the stuff the world has got in store. I wanna take it all in, I'm falling. The cityscape by night, wanna catch in my photos. Where you go, every corner twice as bright. They'll be my treasures forever. When I can't hold you tight, I'll see the Stockholm lights. The Stockholm lights, the Stockholm lights.
day. Eyes on my display. You say we need a change, and I feel that you mean it. You mean it. But you're so right, we're losing track of time. Buying things online, and it's not like we need them. We don't need them. So can we just slow down? The only thing I'll do is lay here next to you. We need to slow down. Embrace the love we found. For you and I are safe and sound. And we just slow down. For you and I are safe and We were on the run, rocking around the clock. Now all we need is right here in front of us. In front of us. So can we just slow down? The only thing I'll do is lay here next to you. We need to slow down. Embrace the love we found. For you and I are safe and sound. Can we just slow down? And we just slow waste another day. I'm on my display. You say we need a change, and I feel that you mean it. But you're so right, we're losing track of time. Buying things online, it's not like we need them. Can I be your star tonight? You fill my soul with light the day we met. I don't wanna leave your side, no. Have me by your side when the sun sets. I hope you'll still want me. I hope you'll still need me 1,000,000 years from now. The seasons are changing, the nights ever fading. It's time we left the ground. Let's leave for an eternity. Sail across the lights beyond the sky. I'll be with you eternally. I adore your love and keeps me high. Keeps me high.
Welcome back, everybody. We're here for game 2 of Eclipsing Tides New Moon versus Conduit Esports. Griffin, apologies for the long delay. There were some issues with the draftable website. Got them all figured out. The draft is completed, and we are ready to get it underway. And already off the cuff, we already got the side swap after Conduit Esports took away game 1. I'm interested to see what Eclipsing Tides can do on this blue side that can maybe net them a win and take us to game 3.
You know, we'll have to see. They do ban the Akali away right there. I'm just noticing right away. Oh, wait, I'm watching in the client, so I just spoiled it. I'm sorry. Because they're doing the actual draft in the client now, and it's moving a little bit quicker than the draft on there. So, spoiler alert, they're about to ban Akali. I will sell my house and put it on that right here.
Wow, he predicted the Akali ban. Hang on, wait a minute. That's Zach ban. I think we're getting the run back of the draft from game 1, actually, not from game 2, if I just double check.
Yeah, this is the wrong draft run back we're getting.
1.
So I just lost my house. No.
You put the money down on the house, and he didn't even look at which house he was putting down. Right now we're looking. Right now we're looking at the draft for game 1. Our producer, Loki Bear in the back, is going to make sure that we get underway with the proper draft this time around. So in the meantime, as you already heard, the Akali is going to be banned away this time around, and Eclipsing Tides is still going to be on blue side.
Here we go.
Here's our game 2 draft, and Conduit Esports left through the Smolder, so that one is going to get picked up right away, and they're going to respond with the Senna Volibear, which I don't know how I feel about.
Volibear is an interesting one, is very powerful as a jungler, and has also seen a lot of power in top lane as well. But Senna, we saw it have a nice early game and then kind of failed to do anything after that. So I want to see how Not So Dark off the Varus duty is going to do on this Senna duty now, as Eclipsing Tide pick up the Maokai, which is basically, I think, the best support to go along with the Smolder, and then a Jarvan for some initiation as well.
Yeah, lots of early game crowd control, lots of lane domination with those side lanes. It's very difficult to get on top of the Smolder when you do have that Maokai paired up with you. As Conduit Esports are going to respond with the Renata. So again, we're seeing a farming Senna, not a fasting Senna. And in my personal opinion, I much more often prefer the fasting Senna, and especially against a scaling monster like Smolder, I feel like you do really need to have that soul stacking as high as possible to try and catch up.
Yeah. Farming Senna, I think, is just a weaker version of fasting Senna. So I'm kind of confused as to why these AD carries are deciding to go as the farming Senna strategy. But maybe it's just a lack of familiarity or lack of practice with the fasting Senna strategy, which is odd because it's been around for so many years. But we'll see how it pans out for them. Few bans to take note of here. The Camille is off the table, the Sylas off the table as well. Sylas stealing the Renata ult or the Volibear ult are both very good for him. So not super surprising to see that get banned away. The Maokai ult taken away is really good for the Sylas. So not surprising to see that get taken away. I'm getting the picks and bans swapped around for them. But the Yone blind pick for Conduit.
Okay.
That's a surprise.
Yeah, it is flexible between mid and top, depending on whether they want to go Volibear to be in the jungle, or if they want Yone to be in either of those solo lanes. Again, does have that flexibility, but it's a surprising blind pick. It's a very, usually, niche counter-pick, aggressive kind of lane champion, and it does have the ability to get counter-picked pretty hard if you're into some rough matchups. Like, Nico, I know, can be sometimes a difficult matchup, but she can at the very least roam better and wave clear a lot better, try and get on the map with that level 6 more. And Urgot, I think, has to be a bad matchup for Yone. I can't imagine that he has fun with that one.
No, it's not going to be a lot of fun. Now, I want to shout something out here. I just noticed this right now. Mm-hmm. I like to watch a lot of different leagues, all right?
Absolutely.
In Europe, G2 played a Smolder, Nico, Jarvan comp. And once they hit about 25 minutes, that combo of those three champions absolutely blew up a team fight multiple times. Collapse on the Nico came flying through twice, and they had the ultimate one-shot comp where Nico knocks everyone up, Jarvan locks everyone in the hole, and then Smolder comes over the top and screams, "More!" and throws that ultimate through the middle of them, throws the Q out, and it's an instant nuclear explosion of damage right there on top of everyone. So I like the idea behind this. Technically what we're seeing from Eclipsing Tides is a pro level comp, and it's been tested in Europe and it's won.
Yeah, I mean, it is G2, and they do sometimes cook a little bit, but they are also far and away. If there was ever a year that Europe was a one-team region, it's probably this year. G2 just looks far away better than everyone else. But we're not here to discuss European League of Legends. We're here to discuss the Titan Divinity League. And I do like the idea behind this composition. Like you said, Smolder, Jarvan, Nico, it's a lot of AoE lockdown, and Maokai to boost it up on top of that, Urgot to make sure that Smolder has that tanky front line in front of him. I think it's going to be really difficult for this Conduit Esports composition to play through it. Though, we were saying that last time around, the early game looked better for Conduit Esports. They fell behind, but then after like 20 minutes, they just decided they were going to win the game off of Dr. Shroud's Akali. Although this time now on the Senna, so we'll have to see how well they actually do with that particular pick. But I think the Conduit Esports composition is a little bit harder to execute this time around.
You know, I would definitely agree. As I'm trying to pull Discord back up, there we go. Moving some screens around as we're starting to get back into game. It's slowly make our way towards getting game 2 underway. But yeah, Conduit's their comp. You've got a lot of skill expression there with the Syndra, with the Yone, a fair amount of scaling there with the Yone as well. So Smolder is actually going to struggle a little bit against the Yone the more I think about it. Once you hit that late game, Yone can come flying through from 3 screens away from a different zip code, hit that R key, and just lock down the Smolder. And Smolder doesn't have any real dashes to get out of the way. It's just kind of a, I can flap my wings and move a little bit faster. But you can't out flap your wings against a man who has a mask covering his face. He says, if I can't see you fly away, I'm going to ult you every time anyways. So I'm interested to see how this is going to work out for him. The Yone is, I think, in my opinion, a very smart counter pick into the Smolder because you can really lock him down quite well. And then followed up with the Renata pick, that Renata ult coming flying over the top to follow up from a Yone who hopefully locks down the Smolder could work out well for them.
Yeah, I think Renata is just one of the best disengaged champions in the game, and it's hard to argue against that. We'll have to see if Conduit Esports can unlock the full potential of these champions, or if Eclipsing Tides did pick Smolder on blue side and are in fact going to take away the win and send us to game 3. But we're here on the Rift for game 2. As we said earlier before the draft, Conduit Esports did take away game 1 as Fallen Warrior already off the cuff, going to give over Not So Dark a stack. The game's already over. Congratulations, Conduit Esports, on your 2-0 victory.
Oh boy. Just going to do a quick check on that. Sure enough, Senna has 1 stack.
It's 1 soul at 1 minute. Senna has 100% soul farming capacity. How do you beat that?
It's game over at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if Notorious TLP right there is saying GG support gap, GG bot gap, and top the Urgot is up there on the side saying GG, what am I supposed to do? Trying to land against a Yone when Senna has infinitely more stacks than she's supposed to have here at level 1. Report Maokai, go next, GG, and it's going to mass report everybody in the game and move on. Hopefully to get that subtle trade back win where, hey, I lost my LP, but I did get one of those instant feedback reports. So it's all good.
The instant feedback reports are one of the best parts of playing League, but we're already seeing actually down here Not So Dark and Ipsy playing pretty aggressively with this Senna Renata. Smolder's weakest point in the game is this early game, and while Senna doesn't fare much better, she does have a lot more aggressive early trading power with the Renata on her back. So I'm not too shocked to see them try for this sort of
They know. Here we go.
Wheeze is going to be the target. He's just going to take a little bit of damage. They're not going to try and go too aggressive. They're just going to take that early health bar lead. The Wheeze does have the fleet footwork, so he'll be able to sustain up at least over time over the course of the lane. As that's an easy start for Top Gap as well. Doesn't manage to catch Dobbs on that flip, but the extra shielding should make those trades a little bit healthier for him at least.
If that flip had landed, that's Dobbs' flash most likely gone, and that is top lane essentially won for the next 5 minutes at least for the Urgot, because now the Yone has to play so safe. So if that is a game of inches right there. Top Gap really, sorry, I keep saying this guy's name is Top Gap, but I don't want to say Top Gap, but maybe it just is.
Ooh, nice flip to counter out the knockup, but Glada is here early on. The Volley Bear did take those 3 camps topside and look for the gank. Gonna take a tower shot. Certain Top Gap does manage to flash away. Lives on a sliver of HP. No dive coming through from the Conduit Esports side, but an early flash burn from the Urgot is a nice win for Dobbs up there.
And look at the Smolder though. Smolder has 0 CS right now.
Oh, so wow, yeah, he's struggling.
Senna is doing very well at keeping the Smolder off this wave. and they've been able to very successfully push this in. Yeah, only 2 CS has missed a lot of that farm.
Yeah, it's the difficulty with being pushed under tower so early on this champion, because you really do want to try and get those last hits with your Q, but with how the minion aggro works and how the tower aggro is going to come through, sometimes it just doesn't particularly work out the way you want it to. Like, you can already see here, he's going to manage to pick up some of that CS under tower, but it's a struggle in this early game. Until you get that Sheen in your inventory, until you start getting that Essence Reaver, farming on the Smolder can really be difficulty.
Just a little unfortunate that the Senna didn't farm those waves a little bit better, because you could have had a 10 CS lead already at this point, but it's only going to be a 5 CS because Senna missed quite a few farm there in that early, trying to get that early push down. But top lane has stabilized a little bit. Urgot has a low health, but if Yone gets that E back up, could look for a kill. We might see it up there top side. Yep, there we go. Let's see how this goes.
Bound. We've got to engage on the bottom side as well. Fallen Warrior going to be doing a bit of disengaging. TLP actually made his way, make his way into mid lane. Dr. Shrouds will survive. Those potions ticking, going to keep himself safe, but he does lose the flash. No kill up there on the top side as TLP and Glad trading away there in the mid lane. No kills going over across the board somehow, even with all the early game aggression.
Can we pan up top side? I think Yone's going to go for a flash Q here.
Dobbs wants it.
Come on, do it. Do it.
It's going to fall off. He does not want to go for it. If he gets caught under tower with that flip, that is just a dead Yone, especially if he uses that flash. But that's kind of the skill check matchup for this top side. If Urgot can...
They're going to dive this.
Yeah, if Urgot can use that flip to cancel out that Yone knockup, it matches the CC and it makes it so that Yone can't get any extra aggression on that trade. And now he actually doesn't have any Q stacks. Lada is still going to go for it, but he's going to get flipped under tower. He'll get the shield for himself, but he will not matter. Sir Top Gap goes down. Dobbs picks up first blood.
Yep, it's a nice job by the Yone to keep the Urgot around. Urgot should have just recalled and teleported back into the lane to catch the wave, but decided to hang around, decided to greed for it because he saw the Yone was also pretty low on health. And then the Volibear comes running back around, flies under the tower, says, I don't care if you can throw down that little shield and flip me over. I've got that, that E shield to keep myself alive a little bit longer. I'm only going to take 1 or 2 tower shots, and Yone's going to come flying in, damage free from the tower, and get that first blood over. So Yone with first blood, that's a big lead over to Dobbs here. Top gap, more like top lax.
Already has that Vampire Acceptor inventory. He's going to
Always here again.
But Glad is still up here on the top side. Dobbs has that Spirit Unbound. Sir Top Gap, no flash on the Urgot. They're just going to get that second kill over to the Yone. They will manage, Eternal Eclipsing Tides will manage to trade back for this Dragon, but an Ocean Dragon for a 2-0 Yone, I feel like, has got to be in favor of the top laner here.
Oh, it 100% is. Plus, Urgot had just used the teleport to get back into lane. Yone crashes another wave. They're going to pick up the grubs here for themselves. So they need, even the neutral objectives are traded evenly. This is a huge lead for this Yone. As I'm going to take a quick check at it. Yeah, Yone's up 1,000 gold already over this Urgot. So big lead over to Yasuo's toxic brother.
Yeah, and now especially with the early grubs going over with the lead that Dobbs has, it's going to be a lot easier for him to start pushing down these tower plates, forcing these waves under tower, forcing Sir Top Gap to recall and be able to find those plates and get some more gold out of this lane. It's the kind of lead that really can't snowball out of control if Notorious TLP can't either salvage this top lane somehow, pick up that shutdown gold, or look to pull a lead on some other side of the map.
And we'll have to see how Dobbs plays this out, because you do have that big lead, but how do you use it? Because it still technically is that melee versus ranged matchup. But Volibear's here again.
Here again. Sir Top Gap doesn't have his flash still. Dobbs is going to find that Fate Sealed on top of him. Goodbye, Urgot. You are not allowed to be that up far. Eat your lane. 3-0 Yone now.
For those of you who know,
oh,
we gotta fight here.
Engaged on, not so dark. Does have that shroud. He will be able to get himself back, but Senna losing that trade early is not great for the state of this game. Fallen Warrior and Wheeze still stacking up. Wheeze now at 40 stacks of that dragon practice, but I don't know. It's getting risky down here.
Yeah, Smolder, Maokai lane is very strong, but I want to shout something out here really quick. For those of you who have been watching League of Legends for a while, this could be trouble though for Dobbs.
Cataclysm's in onto Dobbs. Oh, the Fear Beyond Death snipes Dobbs after the flash. Shutdown gold goes over to Top Gap.
That was a nice shot there from the Urgot. Landing the ultimate, that's going to flip the gold right back. Instead of, it's now only a 700 or 800 gold difference, but Maokai is getting...
Flashes.
They're going to be just fine.
Ipsy used that flash to try and get the handshake off, force the flash out of Fallen Warrior. So 1-for-1 overall on the bottom side in terms of summoners. And I think I'm a little actually surprised to see that Maokai doesn't have Hex Flash. I feel like that's sort of a no-brainer more often than not, but without it, it's going to make this Maokai pick a lot weaker until that flash is back off cooldown.
Jarvan is stealing away the red buff up there, so smart play by him there. But yeah, I think that's a bit of an early gank there from the Volibear. Like you can see up there in the top right of your screen, Volibear now has level 6, Senna now has level 6, and Renata, I'm assuming, I'm going to take a quick peek at it. Yeah, Renata's a few minions away from level 6 as well. If you had just let them clear 1 or 2 more waves, you would have had 6 on all 3 of those champions, and it would have been a much better gank timer because you have so much more CC and lockdown, and also the ability to truly, genuinely dive that tower because you can just completely knock it off and knock off its damage capabilities for a few seconds. So if Volibear had been a little bit more patient, cleared up his top side, making sure that he gets that red buff, and then path the bot side when they all have level 6, that's when you want to look for. Because right now you can see Smolder and Maokai only level 5, Senna is level 6, Renata is now level 6, Volibear is now level 6, and now Volibear is down here to look for a gank. And they're going to see it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just go for it anyways.
I think they absolutely could, but Glada is going to take the safe play. He knows he was spotted on a ward, so he's just going to walk away from the play. Knows that in isolation, his lanes are kind of just winning right now, so he's happy to just play the protector role at the moment, making sure that TLP doesn't have a lot of easy gank options. You can see here sort of skulking around on these bottom side camps, looking at the red buff right now. We might actually see a fight over it, as TLP will now notice that his red buff is being taken, the flag giving him some vision.
Weeze is up here.
Yeah, the early rotate from Weeze and Fallen
We're going to see a fight.
So Dark are going to finally rotate over. Glada looking at that blast cone a little juicily, wants to maybe get over the wall onto the dragon, but Dr. Shrouds is going to do that Cinder thing and pull the buff away from TLP. Glada smites it down. Going to get knocked over the wall, though, and now hang on. Fallen Warrior handshaken away by Ipsy. There is level 6 available on all of these members, but nobody wants to be the first one to pull the trigger on that ultimate. Everybody's just staring at each other. Nobody wants to go for a kill.
A lot of fun little trades looking back and forth, but no one dying here. Here goes Volibear.
Flash forward from Glada, very flash away from very talented, but the flash follow-ups from the mid and jungle duo of Conduit Esports means goodbye, Nico.
Goodbye, Nico, indeed. Now, taking a quick little gander up top side, Urgot is starting to really win those trades against the Yone. So Urgot does counter the Yone. Once Yone ever tries to dash in, Urgot can dash in as well, flip him over.
He's here, nice flash away from that Berserk, but Not So Dark has his own flash, gonna pop that Ghost as well to get away from the Maokai ultimate. Now Weeze gonna start to get the damage down onto him, but with no extra follow-up, Not So Dark will manage to actually survive. I like the aggression from TLP, but his bottom lane just got caught in that hostile takeover. Nothing doing in the bottom side.
Yeah, well, a well-used hostile takeover there for Ipsy, or yeah, I think it's Ipsy, isn't it?
Ipsy, yeah.
Yeah, well, so a well-used hostile takeover is going to completely keep both of them alive. That's what your support's supposed to do, keep the ADC alive, and, you know, ultimately, hopefully keep herself alive too, and she did. So, well played to Ipsy on the Renata.
Yeah, and with TLP showing on the bottom side, that does mean grubs number 4, 5, and 6 will all go over to Glada. It will be traded in response for this Chemtech Dragon, but without a lot of healing and shielding on the side of Eclipsing Tides, I don't think they're super happy to be looking at even a potential Hextech Soul, which is a great soul, in trade for these 6 grubs with how behind they're feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. Conduit is up 3k gold. Now, here's where the problems... That's a nice little stun there for both of them. What's really the problem is going to come to is what we're going to see right here in about a second.
Fear Beyond Death, goodbye, Dobbs! Sir Top Gap, despite all the pressure up there from Glada, wins the 1v1 twice now versus Dobbs on this Yone. That's a huge win for Eclipsing Tides.
And that's the problem with the Urgot into the Yone, as Yone can never really safely go in anymore. Urgot now is going to recall, pick up the Black Cleaver, and that's when things really start to get problematic. Nope, he's going to decide to push one more wave, and that's fine. You need to push that so the wave will reset. Yone is going to teleport back up there, but Urgot, I think, is going to see that and try to back off. So let's see if Yone can do something with the recall timer.
Yeah, he knows that Urgot doesn't have ulti and not a lot of mana for him either. Fate Sealed available for Dobbs, but Sir Popcap actually still trading positively. A nice flash away is actually going to let him survive. The tower shot does not kill Dobbs, gets him very, very low. But now with no teleport, no ulti, and with a pretty low health bar, well, Dobbs will be able to sustain him up decently well with the Doran's Blade and with the Vampiric Scepter, but with the teleport coming back from Sir Topgap with that completed item, I feel like the trades are only going to get worse for this Yone.
Oh, Urgot, what are you doing?
That's Hullbreaker first item. No, hang on. Let him cook. Because this item is good now.
It is good, but Black Cleaver is just better. You can quickly shred through any armor that Yone builds and just do basically true damage with every single one of your auto attacks. So Black Cleaver is, in my opinion, the premier item you want to be building early on Urgot. On top of that, it gives you a good amount of CDR for your dash and your Q, and it gives you a good amount of health. So I don't know why you're prioritizing Hullbreaker here. But maybe it's because of that every 5th attack thing, but...
Yeah, we'll have to see how much value he can actually get out of it over the course of the game as Glada gets caught out on his red buff. Dops is here, but with no ulti on this Yone, I think Volibear should just die. The Cataclysm comes down. TLP picks that one up, and Dops is just forced to walk away. There's nothing he can do here. Shrouds is here on the side, but with Urgot supporting them from the top side, they have a pathway out. It's just a clean invade from Eclipsing Tides.
Yeah, a clean invade. The red buff does successfully get taken there by Glada, I do believe, but that buff is going to get transferred over to Notorious TLP, who picked it up, and now they're going to take a Herald for themselves. Urgot had a nice push there, took a couple plates. Yone has to catch that wave. Mid is pushed out, so Cinder can get in here early, and Very Talented is going to be missing.
Nice route onto the Renata. The hostile takeover is only going to find Sir Topgap. He doesn't get any autos down. Ipsy with that Pop Blossom should just go down to the Fear Beyond Death. He'll get the revive, so no extra fear. He actually manages to save his team, even in death. Dobbs now trying to get some trade backs, but maybe just a little bit too aggressive. He's forced to walk away. And the Herald does go over, so Eclipsing Tides continue to advance. Hang on, Dobbs actually wants to try and find Fallen Warrior here. The Dawning Shadow over the top doesn't find it. As Fallen Warrior with a great flash to get away. The Scorch does not kill the Maokai. He survives with a sliver of HP, and somehow everyone aside from Ipsy walks away alive.
Very, very scrappy team fights here, and they're fighting over nothing, which means they're not really fighting for objectives. They're just fighting for the sake of combat. They're just waking up and choosing violence, and I love that. But no one really dies. They're just playing on the edge of what their champions can bring. And this game is anyone's at this point. It started off so bad with the Yone having such a lead, but Urgot is right back into the game, and here comes another fight.
Forced to flash away. Glada wants to continue the trade. He's going to bring down that Sky Splitter, get a little bit of extra damage in. The Syndra ulti comes through. Dr. Shrouds picks up TLP. Post-flash Jargon does not survive the exchange.
And Dr. Shrouds is farming very well on this Syndra. Has 134 CS at 15 minutes. So, I mean, not perfect CS, but still significantly higher, about 20 higher than anybody else in the game. So it's looking really good. This Syndra is going to be quite ahead at this point. And yeah, outside of those top laners who just got a bunch of gold injected into them super early on, Syndra has the most gold in the game.
He's stuck under tower here. Glada and Ipsy just licking their lips over some cooked up dragon veal. He's going to try and get a little bit of poke down, try and buy some time for TLP and for Topgap to rotate over. He's actually going to be able to flap over the wall, but the flash forward immediately from Glada to punish him down. Rooted up by Not So Dark. They should just be able to finish off the dragon. Mom comes through in vengeance for her son, but cannot find any kills to her name. TLP still walking away. Fallen Warrior is going to pop that Maokai ulti, actually. Try and get a little bit aggressive. As Ipsy comes through. Dr. Shrouds on the backline, though, gets a great stun. Cataclysm in on top of him, but he's just dead. Dr. Shrouds finds a kill again. Fallen Warrior now going to try and get over the wall, but doesn't have the range to get onto the Dr. Shrouds. Not So Dark will pick up the Maokai, and it's a great collapse from Conduit Esports.
It was looking so good but then all of a sudden they make that dive onto the Smolder, and Smolder tries to flap out of there. The team tries to get around to keep the Smolder alive, but everything goes wrong, and Conduit get right back into a serious controlling point in this game. It was pretty even. It was looking good, but the Urgot isn't there. The Yone isn't there. All that gold that Conduit, ETN, I'm blanking on the name for some reason.
Eclipsing Tides.
Eclipsing Tide, there we go.
Bottom side. Easily picked out, playing a little bit too aggressively there. He will be going for the Black Cleaver second item. And I will say, before any of that play did happen, Sir Topgap did solo take the topside turret for first turret blood. So a lot of extra gold injected into this Urgot, like you were talking about earlier. That Hullbreaker 5th hit passive. Actually doing a lot of work for Urgot because he does apply those autos so quickly with his W. So I guess I can see where the value is coming through from that, as he's managed to grab that objective, but immediately caught out in punishment in the side lane at the same time.
Yep, Urgot goes down, and another pick for them onto the bot side. That shutdown went over to the Senna, so now Senna's going to have even more gold. Yeah, is up 1,500 gold over the Smolder. So this Smolder is very far behind.
Yeah, just sitting on that Essence Reaver right now. Not a lot of money to his name. Stack count, I'm hoping we can grab in just a second. Yeah, about 109 to his name, so still not at that 125 mark yet. Doesn't have those little AoE blops. Senna only sitting at 45 for 18 minutes is actually really, really low. As Glad and Top Gap are trading down here. Dobbs doesn't manage to find the feet seal onto anybody. Just barely dodged out as TLP is going to dash back in with that flag and drive, but does manage to just walk away from the exchange, actually. Doesn't even have to lose any summoners. Just walks away. As Wheeze on the back after that gets rooted up. But again, no kills in a very bloody exchange.
Uh-oh.
Very talented. Yeah, that's just deletion. Goodbye. Rest in peace. F7's in the chat. Rest in peace.
Another one's gone.
Yeah, Wheeze in the same exchange. MC just finds him on the other side of the wall. Goodbye, Smolder. You can't be walking that far on your lonesome. You gotta have your mom with you at least.
You gotta have, if you're not gonna have your mom next to you, if you're not gonna have Shyvana or Elder Dragon there with you, you might as well at least have a magical old tree in Maokai, but Maokai's not there either, and so Smolder gets caught. Syndra doing Syndra things on the top side. She's going to be able to crash that wave. They're crashing mid lane as well. That's going to give them a lot of prio onto the map to get some vision down. Baron rather, spawning in about 30 seconds here. The Dragon going to be spawning in 2.5 minutes, so nothing really big to play for at the moment. So it's just going to be a Syndra taking that top tower angle. And then we reset, and I'm guessing they're going to try to play around bot side and take that bot tower as well to start to really get some prio onto the map here as they move forward towards that Dragon Souls. Try to get some stole stacking points going for themselves.
Top Gap is just going to find that execute. Doesn't actually manage to find Dobbs. He'll survive, but will get picked up by that Fear Beyond Death across the wall. But in the meantime, very talented, actually finding a beautiful pop blossom on the top side of that fight. He'll pick up some big shutdown goal for himself, but now is stuck in his lonesome in a 2 versus 3. Will get taken down by Not So Dark. Wheeze is coming through with the mom, but he will not be able to survive. Fallen Warrior taken down. It's a double kill for Senna. The Dawn Shadow over the top. Notorious TLP taken down. Glada finds that one. He still has that Stormbreaker. Wants to find some baby Dragon Veil for himself. Chops him down with the Sky Splitter. It's a double kill for the Volley Bear. And the bottom side looks great for Eclipsing Tides, but all of their gold is on this Urgot, so they cannot fight without him.
Urgot is doing a nice job of picking up those side lane bounties, is really shredding a lot of damage. You can see that 5th chunk of damage there onto that tower. See how big that is? That's from that hull breaker, but you're going to have a really hard time pushing those side waves if Volibear picks up this Baron, and without really any contest, they're trying to fly up there and get there, so maybe Jarvan can get there in time. We'll have to see. 5,000 health left on this Baron. Let's see how this fight goes.
No engage ultimates available for Eclipsing Tides. The Baron down now to 2k. Fallen Warrior trying to get in. Smite's available for Gladys, so they should be able to pick this one up. I think it's just a little bit of over-aggression from Eclipsing Tides as Fallen Warrior will be taken down. Not So Dark finds their 5th kill of the game. I like the idea, but it's just too little too late, and you have to know when to pull out.
Yeah, it was a good attempt, but the Jarvan was late to the party, so you really have no business being up there diving in if you're Maokai. And now you're dead. You've completely lost any chance that you had of trying to get some vision control around bot side. Urgot, yeah, is there, but your support isn't. Who's the one who has all those wards in inventory? So Dobbs is going to be able to move in there with the rest of Conduit, get that scuttle crab for themselves, and start establishing. Yeah, clearing out the vision there with those. What do you call those stupid things? The Oracle Lens. And they're going to start to set up vision here around themselves for the Dragon. That's a nice little chunk of damage.
Potentially caught out, but very talented is actually the one caught. Turned around. Dr. Shrouds deletes him with that unleashed power. It's a huge touchdown. Takeover over the top. Beautiful by MC. Glad goes on a rampage, shutting down that tower with the Stormbreaker. MC will find his 2nd kill of the game, and it's just Conduit Esports dominating the map.
Conduit is absolutely running this map despite what Urgot is trying to say about it. And this Dragon is going to go over to them. That's going to make the Dragons 120 even if they don't even decide to stick around and try to get more, which they very well could. Lane state is really bad now for Eclipsing Tide. Although they do have the side lanes pushing, there's nothing much that they can do with it anymore because they're just so far behind. And the Senna now at 5-0. I'm going to do a quick stat check. Has 66 souls now, so has, those stacks are starting to really matter. The Senna, the Syndra, just going to try to do a quick peek at that.
How many shards does she have? Does she have that execute on her ultimate just
She's
yet?
at 116, so she needs 4 more stacks, and she'll get that on this wave.
Yeah, 120 means the extra AP for Syndra, that little Rabadon's passive in her inventory as well. Smolder, not at that 225 yet, still at 23 minutes. Weeze does have past 125 at least, so he will have at least some extra utility in team fights, but until he hits that 225, he really is not a full champion yet.
No.
And I think for now, Eclipsing Tides, you have to just say Smolder, just keep farming, just keep stacking, and we can pray, but they have to be fighting around this Urgot. This is where the source of their early game has come from. Even with all of the losses in the early ganks, he managed to find a lead as Fallen Warrior potentially caught and very talented, also caught the Unleashed Power under tower. Dr. Shrouds does not care. Picks that one up. TLP now potentially in the one in trouble. He should just be able to find a handshake, but it's a stun from Dr. Shrouds instead. He's going to get that flag and drag over the wall. He'll actually manage to make it out with that blast cone, but again, it's just Conduit Esports running this map, and if they're fighting without, and if Eclipsing Tides continues to fight without Urgot, they're never going to be able to win.
Urgot is pushing up that top side and is going to get a good chunk of damage here onto this tower.
He's has to run away, call in Mom to try and get some backup. Lada maybe a little bit too over-aggressive here. They're going to manage to find the tower, but he will get shut down. TLP will find that kill. But it's trading 2 towers for 1 as Top Gap does find that top lane turret. And you take a kill out of it. It's not bad for Eclipsing Tides, but you just wish it could be better.
And the real problem is that the kill went, and with that 400 gold bounty, did not go onto the Smolder, it went on to the Jarvan. So Smolder does not get that little injection of gold that he really needs, and this little baby dragon continues to be a very baby dragon. As Urgot is finally deciding to group up with the team, that's at least one good thing to see.
Yeah, Smolder sitting around, I think probably just about 150 stacks right now, still waiting to try and get to that 225. As we see a little minion hanging out, very talented, trying to get it as TLP has to flash away from the tower shots, just gets a little bit too aggressive. Fallen Warrior also forced to flash away. The Ignite's taking away from him. Will he manage to survive? No, Ipsy will pick that one up. Nice Ignite down. But now without an engage from that Maokai, what can Eclipsing Tides try and do? They're finally fighting with their Urgot, but it might just be too little too late. Dr. Shrouds on the back line just says, hello, Nico, goodbye, Nico. Picks up the little Vistayan on the back half of that. Dr. Shrouds is so strong on this Syndra. 7-1-5, 3 completed items, 10 stack Darksteel. Just a monster on this pick.
Dr. Shrouds in both of these games has been an absolute menace to play against. Playing that Syndra with a flanking angle just like you are in Akali, comes flying around the side, sees the Nico and says, you wanted to be alive? Too bad. Let me introduce you to the gray screen, and sends Nico packing out of that team fight. They get the crash back into that wave. They're going to be able to reset now with all that extra little bits of gold there. They're up 10,000 gold at this point. So unless the Smolder can really do something magical, which we've seen Smolders do, this game is getting closer and closer to being sealed up in the books.
Yeah, I do appreciate at the very least, despite all of the losses for Weeze, I at least believe he's building correctly here, going for that Navori second item, not trying to waste time with the Shojin, just going to get those crit passes online, but correct build paths will not save you from how far behind you are in this game. Struggling to finish that second item when Senna is already on 3, Syndra's already on 3, and has that Darksteel in inventory just upgraded to Medjai's. As we have a pause here, I hope it won't be for too long. But I wonder what the issue is.
Yeah, I hope it's nothing too serious. It could just be someone's having a little bit of a lag issue. It could be that, hey, I was drinking water and we're right back into the game. So it was nothing very serious, it turns out.
Yeah, we'll probably still have a freeze frame here as the Riot Spectator client is off to do. It happens at some point, sometimes.
There it is.
There it is. Yeah, it'll freeze frame for a couple seconds as it gets back up to that 3-minute delay. Don't check your screens. This is all very normal and very expected. But yeah, still at 10,000 goldie for Conduit Esports. And again, the early game was not looking bad for Eclipsing Tides. Sir Top Gap, despite all that top lane pressure, was managing to get a lot of good trade backs on Dobbs with this Yone. He managed to make some plays happen. But it felt like Eclipsing Tides just were not focused on the top lane at all. And despite Urgot getting those leads, it didn't feel like it really actually added up to anything over the course of the game.
No, it really didn't. And we'll have to see how, if they can maybe end up turning this around, as Senna does a lot of damage now at this point. Has 3 items done. That's going to be a kill.
Goodbye, Fallen Warrior. Nice stun from Dr. Shrouds will seal his fate. A rampage now for this Syndra. 14 stacks on that Medjai's, trying to get that completed book. the cursed book, maybe finally getting some value.
This is a mistake.
The rest of the guys are going to try and just force down this mid lane tower. The Fate Sealed only finds one, as it's a nice flash from Wheeze. Mom's going to come through the corridor, get a lot of damage. Not sure Top Gap does get that execute, but Not So Dark has already found Wheeze. Fallen Warrior has already fallen. Dobbs goes down. It's just Sir Top Gap on his lonesome in the 1 versus 3. No help. It truly is the Top Gap. It's a double kill for Senna.
This game is getting wildly out of control. Smolder is just not able to get there. Is just not able to get those stacks. Conduit Esports, they snowball the game a little bit too quickly. They take over the map too quickly. Smolder can't safely stack as...
Shroud's Unleashed Power doesn't actually manage to find the damage on the Notorious TLP. He will finally shut him down. Goes unstoppable. Oh my god! Syndra survives! Very talented, didn't have the damage! Dr. Shrouds gets their 10th kill. Manages to slice with the Maokai ulti as well. Keeps the stacks on the cursed book, and this should just be starting to close out the game for Conduit Esports.
Yeah, Smolder's only at 190 stacks, so...
Nice knock-up onto 2. Fallen Warrior goes down. Dobbs jumps underneath the base. Gets Wheeze his first kill. A little bit of celebration for him as it's another great hostile takeover from AFC. The second Nexus turret will fall. The stairs gauge is nice from Sir Top Gap, but it's just deletion from Dr. Shrouds. He'll get his 25th stack. The Nexus will be the next target, and Conduit Esports will clean up a quick 2-0 series.
GGWPs in the chat, and Dr. Shrouds is him. Apparently.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the the standings for both of these teams, I don't think you would have expected this to be such a one-sided match. I understand that Eclipsing Tides is currently struggling in some of their series. They haven't managed to find a match win just yet, but Conduit Esports is sitting at 2-4, now 3-4 with this victory over Eclipsing Tides. But it's not like they are a top of the table dominating roster. But I mean, if you turn the nameplates off and you asked me to. If you told me one of these teams was like number 1, number 2 in the league, I would have believed you. I think Conduit Esports just managed to play a really excellent game.
They really did, and I want to just do a little point here. I'm taking a look at some of these post-game like numbers here. Not the mid laner there, Dr. Shrouds, did 30,000 damage in a 28-minute game. That's over 1k damage per minute from this Syndra. Beautiful, just beautifully played both those games on the Syndra and earlier on the Akali. So huge shout outs to Dr. Shrouds for having a magnificent night of games.
Yeah, absolutely great games for Dr. Shrouds. I have to say my personal MVP for this series has to be Glada in the jungle, though. A lot of great early game pressure, knowing exactly where to be, knowing how to trade objectives properly, played an excellent macro and micro game, and it really showed over the course of the games and with the leads that his team got.
Absolutely true. Glada played very well in that game. I'm blanking on what he played last game.
It was Volibear in the game 2 and Brand in the game 1.
The Brand, that's right. The Brand was also a very good game. Had a lot of those ults that came flying through. Timing the ults right, because oftentimes when you play the Brand, if you don't use it correctly, it'll hit your first target and it won't keep bouncing. But I typically saw the Brand ult bounce back and forth quite a few times. So a great night of games from Glada there as well. And Not So Dark, also a very good set of games. Ipsy had some fantastic ults there on the Renata. And Dobbs did the thing up there on the Yone, just kind of Yone gaming up there.
Played Yone in the early game. He got camped by his jungler. He got a nice early lead. He managed to fall off as Sir Top Gap had a couple of great plays. But I think, overall, just a series that Conduit Esports can be really happy with, managing to find a quick 2-0 victory. It's the expected result for them as they're the slightly higher seeded team right now, but it's going to help them get to a playoff seeding potentially. The records that are in the playoffs right now, we have 6-0, 5-1, and then the 3rd and 4th place teams are at 4-2. So if they do want to compete for those last 2 playoff slots, they're going to be having to struggle to get those next couple of wins in. And given their schedule, I don't think it's going to be super easy for them.
Yeah, we'll have to see how they manage to move on as the season gets closer and closer to a close, and we move closer and closer to that playoffs. This team is looking very strong, though. Dr. Shrouds is definitely that mid laner you want to be looking out for. In my opinion, kind of carried both those games with just how those flanks worked out and those executions are in the Syndra that just funky but oddly successful Akali build last game as well. And just great to see this character, this player really starting to come online as we get closer to playoffs. That's what you really want to see for a team that's a little bit lower in the standings, but is definitely seeming to ramp up.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see them continue to ramp up over the course of the series. I'd love to see them try and secure a top seeding in this Divinity League. But that's going to be it for us tonight. Again, congratulations to Conduit Esports for your 2-0 victory. I've been What's It Britty. That's been Sharpie, Loki Bear, producer in the back, doing an incredible job. Thank you all so much for joining us. We'll see you next week. Have a good night.
A pair of jeans, a shirt or two. We didn't pack as if we weren't going back. It doesn't matter if it's true. I've got a feeling love will give us what we lack. The world is waiting up. The world is waiting half a step beyond our door. Yeah. And if it's not enough, I wanna see the stuff the world has got in store. I wanna take it all in, I'm falling. The cityscape by night, wanna catch in my photos. Where you go, every corner twice as bright. They'll be my treasures forever. When I can't hold you tight, I'll see the Stockholm lights. The Stockholm lights, the Stockholm lights. Tomorrow feels a year away, like the seconds, the beginning and the end. But if in time it's yesterday, your picture's gonna bring it home to me again. The world is waiting up. The world is waiting half a step beyond our door. And if it's not enough,